There are places on this earth so extraordinary that they seem to belong to another world entirely. Places where the ground glows beneath your feet, where forests reach into clouds so thick you can barely see your hand in front of your face, where ancient cities lie buried beneath sand dunes that have swallowed entire civilizations whole. Our planet is vast, restless, and wildly creative, and across its continents and oceans, it has produced landscapes and locations that stop the human heart cold. Today we are going on a journey, not to the most famous tourist destinations, not to the postcards you already know, but to the places that truly make you question whether you are standing on Earth at all. Buckle in. This is going to be a remarkable ride. We begin in Iceland, a country that sits directly on the mid-Atlantic ridge, where two of the Earth's tectonic plates are slowly tearing themselves apart. Iceland is raw, volcanic, and magnificently violent. Every few years, the ground simply erupts. Steam vents hiss from cracks in the earth like the planet is breathing. The sky can burn orange and red from lava flows visible for miles. But Iceland is also, paradoxically, covered in ice. Massive glaciers creep down from ancient mountains, grinding rock into fine gray dust. And in the winter, if you are lucky enough to be there, the northern lights paint the entire sky in ribbons of green and purple and white. There is nowhere else on Earth quite like it. Iceland feels like being present at the very beginning of things, standing on a world that is still being made. From Iceland, we travel south and east to the Sahara Desert in Africa, the largest hot desert on the planet, stretching nearly as wide as the United States itself. Most people imagine the Sahara as an endless ocean of sand dunes, and while those dunes do exist and they are spectacular, the Sahara is far stranger than that. Deep within it lies the Richat structure, a geological formation so massive it was once mistaken by early astronauts for a meteor impact crater. It is a series of concentric rings carved into the Earth, stretching over 30 miles wide, visible from space like a giant eye staring upward. Scientists now believe it was formed by erosion acting on uplifted rock over millions of years. But standing at its rim, looking down into those ancient circular layers of stone, the scientific explanation feels almost too modest for what you are witnessing. Still in Africa, but now pushing deep into the east, we arrive at Ethiopia and the Dallol Depression, perhaps the most hostile place a human being can stand and survive. It sits over 100 meters below sea level. Average daily temperatures frequently exceed 50 degrees Celsius. The ground here is covered in alien-looking salt flats, sulfur pools of neon yellow and sickly green, and hydrothermal vents that bubble and hiss with acidic water. It looks like the surface of another planet. In fact, NASA scientists study the Dallol Depression to better understand what life might look like on worlds far harsher than our own. And yet local Afar people have lived around these edges for centuries, mining salt from the flats and trading it across the continent. The Dallol is simultaneously the most unwelcoming and quietly humbling place on the planet. We now leap across oceans to the Amazon basin in South America, the greatest rainforest on Earth. The Amazon holds roughly 10% of all species alive on the planet today. Every single acre hums and clicks and cries with life. The trees here are so tall and the canopy so thick that standing on the forest floor at noon, you experience something close to twilight. Rivers the color of dark tea wind through the jungle for thousands of miles. Some tributary rivers run so long and remote that entire stretches have never been properly mapped. Scientists still regularly discover species here that no human being has ever cataloged. There are frogs in the Amazon that carry enough toxin in their skin to kill 10 grown men. There are river dolphins that are pink. There are trees that communicate through underground fungal networks, passing nutrients and chemical signals to their neighbors. The Amazon is not just a forest, it is a living, breathing organism of incomprehensible complexity. Continuing through South America, we arrive in the Atacama Desert of Chile, which holds the strange distinction of being both the driest, non-polar desert on Earth and one of the best places to observe the night sky anywhere on the planet. Some parts of the Atacama have not received measurable rainfall in recorded human history. The soil there is so dry and so devoid of biological material that NASA has used it to test instruments designed for Mars. But at night, the sky above the Atacama becomes something almost supernatural. The altitude, the dryness, and the total absence of light pollution combine to produce a view of the universe so clear and so dense with stars that the Milky Way casts actual shadows on the ground. Professional astronomers have built some of the world's most powerful telescopes on its ridges, staring outward into deep time from one of the quietest, most still places on Earth. Moving into Asia, we must talk about Zhangjiajie in China, which is perhaps the closest thing to a fantasy landscape that actually exists on this planet. Thousands of sandstone pillars rise vertically from the ground, some of them over 1,000 meters tall, their tops capped with green vegetation clinging stubbornly to the stone. Clouds wrap around these towers constantly, slipping between them like slow rivers of white. The place is so visually staggering that filmmakers used it as direct inspiration for the floating mountains in the movie Avatar. But no film has ever really captured it. The scale is simply too large, the effect too dreamlike, too insistent. Walking among those stone towers, you understand something the ancient Chinese poets understood, which is that there are landscapes that make human beings feel not small exactly, but appropriately proportioned within something much larger and much older than themselves. From the sky-reaching pillars of China, we descend into the deepest lake in the world, Siberia's Lake Baikal. Baikal holds approximately 20% of all the unfrozen surface fresh water on the entire planet. It is so deep that all 5 Great Lakes of North America could fit inside it and still leave room to spare. The lake is ancient, somewhere between 25 and 30 million years old, and it has evolved its own unique ecosystem almost entirely in isolation. The Baikal seal is the only freshwater seal species on Earth. Tiny translucent crustaceans clean the lake's water so efficiently that in places it has visibility of up to 40 meters. In winter, the surface freezes and the ice cracks and shifts, producing eerie blue shafts of light that plunge into the dark water below. The sounds the ice makes at night, deep booming groans and sharp rifle crack sounds, carry across miles of empty Siberian silence. Now let us talk about the ocean, because the ocean covers over 70% of this planet, and most of it remains almost entirely unknown to us. The Mariana Trench in the Pacific drops nearly 11 kilometers beneath the surface, making it the deepest known point on Earth. If you placed Mount Everest at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, its peak would still be over a mile underwater. The pressure at those depths is more than 1,000 times what we experience on the surface. And yet life is there. Strange, pale creatures drifting through perpetual darkness, things with no eyes, things that produce their own cold light. The deep ocean is more alien than anything we have sent probes to investigate beyond our atmosphere. We have better maps of the surface of Mars than we do of our own ocean floor. We close our journey on a more intimate note, traveling to the Faroe Islands, a tiny archipelago between Iceland and Norway, perched in the North Atlantic like a handful of dark stones thrown into gray water. The Faroe Islands are not grand in the way that deserts and canyons and deep oceans are grand. Their drama is quieter, more personal. Enormous sea cliffs rise straight from the water, green on top, black at the base, with waterfalls spilling from their edges horizontally when the wind is strong enough. The weather changes every 20 minutes. The light shifts from silver to gold to almost purple. Small villages of grass-roofed houses cling to steep hillsides, and sheep wander paths so narrow and so high that looking down makes your knees soft. The Faroe Islands remind you that the world does not have to be enormous to be extraordinary. This is our planet, violent and tender, frozen and burning, impossibly deep and impossibly high. It is a world that has been building and destroying and rebuilding itself for 4.5 billion years, and in every corner of it, in every cracked desert and frozen lake and dripping jungle and impossible stone pillar, it has left behind evidence of that furious, beautiful, unending work. We are extraordinarily lucky to live here. And as long as we are here, the only right response to a planet this astonishing is to pay attention.